According to any anti-gun advocate, more gun laws mean less gun violence. But if you take a closer look at the crime statistics over the past 40 years, that claim isn't really all that true. California, for example, is notorious for having some of the strictest gun laws in the nation, but as of the year 1982, the Golden State has been home to the most mass shootings of any state in the union by almost double. And they keep saying that their crime rate has gone down and their homicide rate has gone down. Not really. Joining me now to talk about the discrepancy between the rhetoric and reality is John Lott, president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. John, always good to see you. Thank you for joining me. There is this huge discrepancy between what I've seen, and I know you've seen parroted on cable news, what we've seen on social media, the articles that we've seen shared from numerous websites. They act as though, California's gun laws and the super strict regulations, they've contributed to decreasing the homicide rate. But actually, when you look at the numbers, it's not entirely true. Break this down for us.
Right. Well, the big gun control laws that they had were basically around 2000 or so. The murder rate nationally has been falling fairly dramatically since 1994. What you have to do is, or 1991, I'm sorry. But, what you have to do is compare how California has been changing relative to the rest of the country. And I just don't think that there's any evidence that indicates that their crime rates, murder rates, whatever, have fallen relative to other countries after they changed the different gun control laws that they have. But, the numbers that you just showed are interesting. They look at the total number. You have to adjust for the fact that California has about 30 million people. But even once you do that, you still find California's really overrepresented.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, and then of course these mass casualty incidents, they've had the most of any other state when we look at how many each state has, and we look at the number of these just in the past 10 years. But they've had, I think that they have the strictest laws in the country. They're also the first state to pass the so-called red flag laws and really regulate magazine capacity. But that didn't prevent the Thousand Oaks massacre. It didn't prevent Isla Vista. It didn't prevent San Bernardino. There were several others that it didn't prevent. Because criminals, they're going to find a way around the law. They're going to violate the law, period. But the rest of us shouldn't be punished because their gun laws don't work.
I mean, one type of gun law that California has is very restrictive in terms of concealed carry permits. The attack that we just had in the bar last week occurred in another gun-free zone. Concealed carry permit holders in California aren't allowed to have guns with them in bars. California is one of only 11 states that ban people being able to go and carry permit concealed handguns in bars. I mean, the other 39 states have a range of rules, anything from saying you could be there, but you can't drink alcohol, to treating it like drunk driving. Your blood alcohol level can't be above 0.08. But, these killers, time after time, seek out those areas where victims can't go and defend themselves. One of the bizarre things about the attack last week was also, apparently, according to USA Today, you had about six off-duty officers there at the bar when the attack occurred. But apparently the local police department there has restrictions on where their off-duty police officers are able to go and carry. So none of them apparently had a gun with them either.
Yeah, I read that as well. In fact, then you're right. There were 6 of them that were in the bar at the time that this shooting took place. And not a single one of them were allowed to have their firearm because they were in a bar. And I understand, and I get the argument from people when they say, "Oh, well, you can't drink and carry." I know that Texas, it's like a percentage of your blood alcohol content. If you reach, they regulate it like DUIs are regulated. But apparently, it escapes. And you and I have talked about this before. The thinking about this is some people, I guess they can't figure out that just as you have a designated driver, couldn't you have a designated carrier to go into such an establishment? And that never seems to cross anyone's mind.
Yeah, it could be the same person that does both. But look, you have a range of state laws. As I say, some of them, like Tennessee, for example, says that you can't drink inside the bar. You can be in there, but just like a designated driver, you're not going to consume any alcohol. So, look, California has been going backwards. California is the one state that recently banned concealed carry permits on school property or university property. You'd had some K through 12 schools that had allowed people to carry on school property, and you had no restrictions for universities. There are no problems that they could point to. I mean, they've had those types of provisions in for many decades. There's never been one single problem, but they somehow feel motivated, thinking that they're going to make people safer by banning people from being able to go and protect each other.
Yeah, which makes zero sense at all.
What's
John
the
Lott with the crime. No, it is the opposite. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, no, I mean, anybody who reads the diaries or other statements from these killers know that they explicitly point out that these are the places that they're going to go after. And the statistical work is just overwhelming. I mean, you live in Texas. You can go and carry your permit concealed handgun almost any place. There are a few places that post. If it was random in terms of these types of attacks, 96% of the mass public shootings in Texas or in other right-to-carry states would be taking place in those areas where permanent concealed handguns are allowed. Instead, they keep on occurring overwhelming in those tiny areas within the state. So since 1950, 98% of the mass public shootings in the United States have taken place in these gun-free zones where general citizens aren't allowed to defend themselves.
One last thing that I want to bring up with you as well, because in addition to the rhetoric that we always see after these mass casualty incidents, is we hear from anti-gun advocates in particular that, oh my gosh, we have mass shootings. The way that they put it is every single day, and they make it sound as though these are a daily occurrence, that it's almost been mainstreamed here just because they happen so frequently. But that's not true. And you mentioned just a little bit ago, I mean, not only nationwide has the homicide rate decreased, but these are still, and I want to remind everybody, these incidents, these tragedies are still rare.
Right. Well, I mean, we have on our website mass public shootings over the last couple decades, and it's been fairly flat. In 1999, you had 5. You had a peak in 2012 of 7. This year, so far, you've had 6. There have been a number of years where it's been about 4 a year that's there. But it's, very slight upward trend. It's basically flat over that period of time. We're just putting together some updated research where if you look worldwide from 1999 through 2015, the growth in mass public shootings in the rest of the world, I mean, not only do they have many more than we have here in the United States, we put out the work over the summer, but their growth rate has been about 3 times higher than ours. And so, people complain about the growth of mass public shootings in the United States and that the United States is somehow unique. But, if you go to our website at crimeresearch.org, you'll see that the United States is well below the world average. The United States makes about 1% of the mass public shooters in the world over the 18 years from 98 through 2015. But we make about 4.6% of the world population. And not only are we much lower, but the rest of the world is increasing much faster than we are. And you have countries like Norway and Finland and France and Russia and Switzerland that all have mass public shooting murder rates that are at least 25% higher than what we have in the United States.
And none of that acknowledged. You're not going to see any of that as the headline. You don't go with the narrative.
You don't see, nobody in the news media reported that we had yet another mass public shooting in a gun-free zone last week. I mean, I don't know. I tried talking to people at different news bureaus, editors, and what have you. For a while, they would tell me, well, if you have to tell me right away within the news cycle. And so I started doing that. And then the response that I got back from them was that, well, it would be political for us to go and bring this up. And my response is, how is this any more or less political than the other facts that you bring up? I mean, frequently they get the type of gun that's used, claiming it's an assault weapon. Many times they're wrong about the type of weapon in the initial news reports, or they make claims about how the person got the gun, often finding that they were wrong about that. The easiest thing to check is often whether it's a gun-free zone. So, for example, last week, all one had to do was pull up the application for concealed carry permits in California, and right on the front page, it makes the statement that places like bars, you're banned from being able to go and carry. And so, very easy to check these things, and it's easy to get it right. But and my guess is that the entire gun control debate. I have to say one thing that is, thank goodness for someone like President Trump. I mean, I can't imagine any other president after something like the synagogue shooting saying, he wishes somebody there had been able to go and stop the attack. Here you had a synagogue that had limited finances. They were only able to go and bring in security guards for high holidays or high holy days. And, but you don't need to go and hire an expensive security guard. Why not let some of the people in the synagogue
carry?
Carry. And
there's a lot of churches that do that as well when they don't have the budgets to hire security.
Right. Well, in fact, it's even more effective, I would argue, than security guards, because the problem that security guards have, and you even saw this last week in the California one where the security guard there apparently was the first guy shot, is that these killers know, and he didn't even have a gun, but they know that the person who's identified as the guard, he may be the only person that has the gun. And so if they kill him first, they essentially have free reign to go and kill other people at the facilities there. And so the thing is, having somebody with a concealed handgun takes away the strategic advantages that the killers have. And it also makes the job of the security guard safer. Because if they go and try to take out the security guard first, they reveal their position, and they have to worry that maybe somebody behind them or to the side who has a concealed handgun might be able to stop them at that point.
No, exactly. And that's how it should be. And hopefully some people will come to their senses on this. We have to get going, though. John Lott, always good to see you, Crime Prevention Research Center. Thank you, John, for all you do. Good to see you.
Thank you.